Live from the 011, yeah. Live from the 011, yeah. Yeah, because I remember when my mother used to get me dressed to go collect welfare checks from the government. Cause we were African in an American sense. Family of four tucked into a basement. Kentucky Fried toys for my celebrations. My dad was flipping burgers just so he could pay rent. And so I wouldn't have to do the same ish. But still, for 25 years I suffer until I met the devil, did a deal so I could plunder. Just a young man fighting back a hunger. Bipolar kid born to a teenage mother. Dad was a traveling man, so it's no wonder that him and I never took the time to get to know one another. And it hurts my mother standing in between two men, so I like so stubborn. Go, hey, yo, live from the 011, go. Yo, live from the 011, go. Live from the 011, yeah. Live from the 011, it goes. The CD is a lie. The CD's a cemetery where your dream comes to die. She used to be a child. Now she's a woman prostituting in the city by the night. And brutality's a lie. I see police take away somebody's means to survive. And is humanity alive? I see police pepper spray somebody's mother in the eyes. And yo, conclusion I provide. They're protectors of a person that is not you or I am. So guns we go by. I lick off a couple shots and kill the man after a fight. Cause yo, the kids ain't alright. I said the kids ain't alright. And guns they confide. Yo, I said in guns they confide. Yo, yeah, and yo, we live from the 011. Yo, hey yo, live from the 011. Go, live from the 011. Yo, hey yo, live from the 011. We go what? Hey yo, live from the 011. Go.
So easy to see why this artist is going to blow up. His debut album is almost complete, and judging by the first single, which has been out for a few weeks, new kid on the hip-hop block, Jonny Joburg, is onto something smooth. Mazishe has been playlisted by both commercial and community radio stations, and for a new artist that's as good as a career launch, he joins me now in the studio to talk about the music. Great sound. I love that sound.
How you doing?
I love that sound.
Thank you so much.
I love meeting new artists with a different take on music. Talk to me about who Jonny Joburg is. For a lot of people, for the first time this morning, they're going to hear this sound. They're going to think back to the sound of Common. It's going to take them back to the early 90s when people were still lyrically inclined.
Yeah, Jonny Joburg is a young guy with a very vast and roller coaster experience. He's decided to put it all in a character and in music. So my experience is completely just about being a kid who grew up in like this post-Mandela South Africa that we have right now, you know. Growing up all over the world, but then specifically really the Joburg aspect and what the city really means to a lot of young kids and what experiences does it have for the people out there, you know. So I rap about that a whole lot.
So the language is about what's happening now to the born frees and that kind of. But I mean, it must be difficult. I mean, AK is one of the biggest selling rap artists. You've got Kuli Chana. There is a hip-hop war out there in some respects. How do you define a new sound and make sure that you stand out and make sure, I mean, you're not a newcomer. You've produced, you've worked with some big names in the industry. But when people now see you as an artist and you're moving away from the image of as a producer, how do you kind of define that sound? How do we know that Jonny Joburg is going to be around a couple of years from now?
I guess, honestly, the best way for me to ensure that is just by being excellent at every little thing that I do. Being excellent when I appear, you know, on television or when I appear live or when I'm on radio, whenever. It's just about being excellent. So I believe that if you do something loud enough and you do it good enough, people will hear it. So it doesn't really matter, because I know I don't do the popular sound. I don't do like the popular trap sound.
There's a lot of nostalgia in your music.
Yeah, because as I'm saying, like it deals with how I grew up thus far, and it's been quite an interesting story. The song I performed first, it's called Inombolo. It deals with, you know, we've got numbers gangs in South Africa. What kind of kid would enter the numbers gang? What kind of kid, what kind of experience would that kid have had to make him want to be in a numbers gang? So I decided to talk about my own experience, like growing up poor in America. You know, my family, we grew up really super poor. Food stamps, that whole thing, government grant. So I talk about that kind of kid, and then also when my dad started to work, him not being around. Do you know what I mean? And then also being the fact that I was born to a teenage mother. My mom had me when she was 18 years old. And that whole experience, just being a kid being raised by other kids, you know, but who has a big dream to be a superstar. So that's what it's about, you know.
A lot of people will kind of resonate with the message and find some kind of home with what you're saying. But talk to me about the inclusion of a live instrument and that element and how that changes the sound and the performance.
For me, because my music is sample-based, a lot of it, and the music that I sample is soul music. I like to sample Afro jazz as well, people like Feya Faku, and so the live element will be in the sample already. And then sometimes, because I'm a producer who's worked with live vocalists and live instrumentalists before on the Kamagwini album, on my hip-hop project, I felt the need to include that. There was no way I couldn't have that there, you know, from the experience that I had. So it's very important, and I feel like it bridges a gap, a generational gap. Everybody understands live music.
Where are we in the production of the album, and when will it see the light of day, and when will it be on shelves?
The album, in terms of production, is completely done. In terms of production, it's completely done. We just need to mix and master it now. I'm very picky, so I've been looking for the most perfect mixing engineer and most perfect mastering engineers. You only get one shot to have your first album.
And it's going to be good. Talk to me about the influences and the musical influences, because you can draw on your own experience, but then you need the legends. You need somebody who has paved the way for you. Before we start this conversation, you talked to me about Common. Yeah,
Common is a very big influence of mine. I've always enjoyed his style of rap, his visual representation of himself as well, and the fact that he always drew a fine line between being an artist who's considered typically underground but having some sort of commercial appeal. And from what I've gathered from the people who've heard my music, they always say that I walk that fine line between the underground and commercial, and I'd like to keep it like that.
Okay, so we're gonna wait for the album in anticipation. What's it called?
It's called Skebeng.
Skebeng, okay.
And you can check it out. Anybody that's trying to see me live, I got a show coming up on the 25th of July, Maboneng Precinct. It's called Live from the 011, actually. It's being brought to you by a media house called Grimetown. So check that out on Facebook, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. It's your boy, Jonny Joburg.
Okay, Jonny Joburg, nice punt at the end of that interview. Okay, you heard it. He goes by the name of Jonny Joburg. He's got a performance coming up. It's live from 011. I need to get it right. I need to get my street cred right. And it takes place in the Maboneng Precinct. You can check him out on Facebook. We've got 2 more performances. Let's go to an ad break. We'll back after this.
I'll be slipping, blowing trees, and then I'm spinning. Grab a dog, see you pop, tag along, see you witness how we ball. It's a